In First Samuel, when you get into the book of First Samuel, around chapters 8, 9, and 10, basically Israel was always judged by judges. They were led into the promised land by Moses and Joshua, eventually into the promised land by Joshua, because Moses wasn't able to go in. But when they get into the promised land and they start dividing the lots out, they have certain judges that God raises up to lead the people. And a lot of times the people would, or every time, the people would eventually disobey God and go against God and begin to sin against him and go and worship other gods of people who were still remaining in the land. And then they would get taken over. God would send them to be slaves and captives under the hand of the Moabites and the Philistines, and many different people would basically take over Israel. Well, you go on down the line and you get through several judges, several scenarios where God raises up a judge to deliver the people out of the hand of the Philistines, out of the hands of the Canaanites, out of the hands of the Moabites. And he would raise up a judge to deliver them out of their hands, and they would go back to the land, and they would decide that they were going to do right this time. And they would do right for a little while, and then that judge would reign for 20, 30, 40 years, and about the time that judge died, they would start to quickly depart from the way of the Lord and begin to sin. Well, you get on into 1 Samuel, into chapters 8, 9, and 10, and Israel decides that they want to be like the rest of the nations, and they want to put a king over them. Well, God basically tells Samuel, who is a prophet and a judge in Israel at that time, Samuel, they want themselves a king. And I'm paraphrasing here. Just like they have departed from me ever since they left, ever since I delivered them out of the hands of the mighty Egyptians, the whole way through the wilderness, the whole way to this promised land, they continue to rebel against me. They continue to depart from me and go and choose something else for themselves. They choose to worship other gods. They decide that they want this instead of that. And I have basically been their king. I've been the one taking care of them. God, have been the one raising up judges like Gideon and people like you, Samuel, to deliver them out of the hands of the people who have taken them over because of my mercy over them. They departed from me and decided to serve and worship their gods. But when I heard their cry, when they cried to me and decided to repent and to turn back to me and to turn from their ways, I raised up a judge to deliver them, and they continue to depart from me. And that's basically what they're doing to you, Samuel. They're deciding for themselves they don't want to judge anymore. Just like they turning from me, Samuel, they're turning from you. And they decided they didn't want Samuel as judge anymore, that they wanted a king to reign over them. So God says, okay, well, they want a king. Well, Samuel, I want you to sharply disapprove of that, but allow them to have a king if that's what they want. And let them know what's going to happen when they put a king over them. Let them know that when you put this king over you, it's going to seem good at first, and you're going to seem like, oh, you're like one of the other nations. You want a king to lead your people and to lead you out in battle and to go in before you and to come out before you and to just they want to resemble the other nations. Basically, they want a king over them. They decide that God's way isn't for them anymore. They don't need God to raise a judge up for them and to lead them. They need a king. And be you minded, God's been taking care of them the whole time without a king. God hasn't needed a king to rule his people, but they decide that they want a king. And God tells Samuel, and Samuel warns the people, when you have a king, basically, he's going to take your daughters and your sons, and he's going to use them for his purposes. He's going to build up his military with them. He's going to use them to till his land and to take his crops and to harvest his wheat and his barley. And he is going to take 10% of everything of yours, and he's going to take your fields and he's going to make them his fields. Basically, what he's saying is, if you raise a king up over you, he's not going to be like me and do what's right. He's eventually going to turn to evil, and he is going to use his power and authority as king to take advantage of you. But anyway, at any rate, God allows it to happen. And this is the point where I'm trying to get to here in 1 Samuel chapter 9 and 10, where at first Saul was a good king. The Bible tells us that he was goodlier. He was goodlier than anybody in Israel. He stood head and shoulders above everyone. He was well favored. He was a good man. From his youth he was good, but he eventually turned to evil. And what I'm saying is, God can even the Bible tells us that even the evil, even the bad, exists for God's purposes. The point of the video I'm trying to get to here is sometimes God will use a bad situation for a good reason. He can, sometimes it seems like things are going on in our lives that seem like, why is this happening? If God really cared about me and loved me, God, where are you? Why are you allowing this to happen? And what happens here is Saul is going to be their king. Samuel has been the judge. Samuel has been the prophet. But basically, and this is where I'm getting to the point of my video, where God purposely orchestrates things out for his purposes. And basically, Saul's dad, whose name is Kish, and Saul is on down the line from in the tribe of Benjamin. Saul's dad, Kish, has some donkeys, some asses that go missing. So Kish sends Saul out and says, I want you to go try to find those donkeys. And it just seems like such a random thing. Like, why, this guy's donkeys have went missing. And now Saul is going to look for these donkeys. And he takes a servant with him. And his servant go all throughout the whole land. And they're looking for him. And they can't find him. And they eventually end up in a city where Samuel is. And God has spoken with Samuel the day before and says, I'm sending a man to you. And he is going to become captain over my people. And he's going to lead them in battle. He's going to lead them to deliver them out of the hands of the Philistines. And this is basically God orchestrating things out to make Saul king over his people. And so as you're reading, the thing that hits me today is the random set of circumstances that had to happen for Saul to even meet Samuel, for Samuel to be able to tell Saul, hey, God has told me that you are going to be king over Israel. And in chapter 10, he becomes king over Israel. And you're thinking, why are these scenarios happening in my life? Just like I'm sure Kish wondered, why in the world have my donkeys gone missing? Even though it is a small example, why did things have to go this way? God, is your hand in this? Why did these random set of circumstances have to happen? Why did it have to go this way that now Saul's out here looking for my donkeys? Well, God had to orchestrate all that out and plan all that out very strategically to even get Saul and Samuel to meet, to establish Saul as king over Israel anyways. Sometimes it seems like there's things going on that don't make sense to us, and things that just are in a random sequence of events, and a lot of times they're bad things. And we can't understand why, God, why are you allowing this? But see, God, he told us in his word, he said, just as the heavens are high above the earth, so are my thoughts and my ways above your thoughts and your ways. God told us that our ways and our thoughts, the way that we reason out things and the way that we feel about things are not the way he reasons out things and the way he feels about things. Because see, we're down here in the valley sometimes, and we can't see what's ahead of that mountain up there that we're climbing. But see, God, he's high above the heavens and the earth, and he can see the other side. He can see the blessing, and he can also see the danger that lies on the other side of some of those mountains. You wonder why? Why did God take them the long way through the wilderness? Well, God knew that if they seen the battles going on through the short path, through the shortcut, the short way to the promised land, if he would have allowed them to go the short way, they would have got quickly discouraged when they seen the wars and the battles and the mighty people that were in front of them. They might would have turned around. So he led them around a longer way. And because of their sins, because they failed, he led them around a longer way for a very specific purpose. I'm just simply trying to say today, things might be happening in your life that seem random or that seem bad, and it seems like, God, are you really there? Our pastor taught us last night that eventually all of our faith is going to get worn and tested. We're all eventually going to get to the place where we're really going to wonder, God, are you there? God, are you in this? Do you care? Do you care? Where are you? Where are you? My faith is very little right now. My faith is my faith is worn right now. Lord, I believe, but help my unbelief. And he's working all this out for a very specific purpose. And the very specific purpose and the whole theme of the Bible is everything is leading to Christ. Everything is leading to the birth, the life, the teachings, the death, and the resurrection of Christ. And Moses and Joshua, and David and Solomon are all pictures of Christ and what he is eventually coming to do. But my point is, the random scenarios of Saul having to go look for his father's donkeys that have went missing led him all the way to the gate of the city where Samuel was to go and tell him, hey, God is going to announce you and basically elect you as king over his people. God worked all that out, all those details. He was, even when nobody even recognized what was going on. Samuel didn't know what was going on, because it says that God only talked to Samuel one day before he met Saul. Kish didn't know what was going on, Saul's dad. Saul didn't know what was going on. For all he knows, he's going to try to search out these donkeys. He's trying to go find his father's animals. And meanwhile, back at the ranch, God is behind in the story. And even when we didn't recognize it, he was in the details. He was in the little parts, working things out for our good and for his glory. Okay, we get into the scenario and we think that God ain't there or God don't care, when he was there before we were ever even there. He had already worked it out for his purposes. Jesus told Peter, Peter, whenever you were young, you would dress yourself and you would go wherever you wanted to go. But he said, Peter, when you're old, they're gonna dress you in what you don't want to wear. And they're gonna carry you and take you to where you don't want to go. And Jesus, in a very cryptic and very deep way, was telling Peter, basically, when you were young, you did what you wanted to do. But when you're old, you're basically gonna end up getting martyred. You're gonna be murdered for a cause. You are going to be murdered because of your faithfulness to me, because you will not deny me, because of your life's work supporting me, because of you following me, Peter. They are going to kill you. They are going to take you to where you don't want to go. But Jesus told Peter after that, even still, follow me. Even when they take you to where you don't want to go, Peter, follow me. Keep your eyes on me. Jesus told the disciples, he told him to follow him at the beginning of the gospel. He told Peter to follow him in the middle of the gospels. And he told Peter to follow him even after he had died and resurrected, when he met with them the third time. He told them to follow me even then. Follow me even now, Peter. Follow me even when I've went back to the Father. Follow me all the way. Even if they carry you to where you don't want to go, Peter. You used to do what you want to do, but now you're living for me, and they're going to carry you to where you don't want to go. Now, even still, Peter, follow me. And I'm simply saying, when the scenarios ain't adding up, when you're out looking for the donkeys and you're out looking for your dad's animals, and you can't quite understand why you're here and why this is going on in your life, you can't quite understand why your mama has cancer, and you can't quite understand why your baby is sick. And every one of us have different scenarios going on, whether mental, physical, emotional, that if people knew the truth like Jesus knew the truth. I'm simply saying that whenever you're out here in this life and it seems unreasonable and it seems like God isn't in the story and he isn't in the details, he was there way before we were. And he said, there's not a place that you'll go that I've not already been. He said, I'll never leave you or forsake you. And you just remember the old saying that the teacher's quiet when the test is out. Sometimes whenever you feel like Jesus isn't there, God isn't there, that God doesn't care, he may be closer than ever. Just like Peter, when he took that step out on the water and he began to doubt, Jesus was right there to be able to catch him in the midst of his doubt and say, oh, ye of little faith, why did you doubt? Jesus might be closer than ever when it seems like he's not there, because he is willing to reach out and catch us when we fall. Even when it's hard, and even when the things ain't going your way, even when it seems impossible, even when it seems like the pain is too great, the scenario, there's no way that it can work out another way. The children of Israel had their backs up against the Red Sea, and the mighty Egyptians, Pharaoh, and all of his chosen men with all of their iron chariots and all of their huge horses were after the children of Israel, and there was no way. There was no way. The children of Israel were up against a body of water way bigger than this one, way bigger than this one, way deeper than this one, and there was no way out. The other side was wilderness. There was nowhere to hide, and the Egyptians are coming after him, and there wasn't a way. Well, you know what? God inhaled and parted the Red Sea, and the children of Israel walked across on dry ground. And when Pharaoh and his army went into the Red Sea after the children of Israel, God exhaled and covered them in the waves and drowned them in the sea. Not one man was left alive. God can work it out when there ain't no way. He makes a way when there ain't no way. He rises up from an empty grave. There ain't no sinner that he can't save. Let me tell you about my Jesus. He does the impossible. The impossible is possible with God. Jesus told the disciples, he was telling them all what they must do to follow him. And he was saying things that, and it was almost in a way that they had to be perfect. And the disciples literally said, Jesus, who then can be saved? Who then can follow you, Jesus? Jesus said, with men, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible. And for some reason, when I read in 1 Samuel, chapters 8, 9, and 10, I could see a random set of circumstances that seems like I'm reading this, and why is this working out this way? Well, God was in the details, and even though we couldn't see why this was going this way, God could. God had a specific plan, a specific purpose, and all he needed us to do was to trust him. All he needed us to do was to show up with the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, and he would feed the multitudes. So if you're having a struggle out there today, if you can't seem to understand why your life is going this way, why are you in this season right now? God's up to something. And he's never seemed to be up to something for our decrease. He's always up to something for our good and his glory. He's even faithful. God is even loving and faithful and merciful, even in punishment. Even when he chastises us, it's not to chastise us and to leave us there. It's to grow us and to lead us closer to him. Every trial will build our faith. I'm only 28 years old, but I've had plenty of trials in my life. I know what it's like to I know what it's like to seem like you're walking into the fiery furnace. I know what it's like to seem like you're getting thrown into the lion's den. But you know what the Bible said? Nebuchadnezzar, the king, when they threw Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in that fire, he said to heat the furnace up even hotter than it was before. Many times hotter than it was before, and cast them into the furnace, because they will not deny God and they will not worship me. Nebuchadnezzar said, did not we throw 3 men in the fire? And his servant said, yes, King Nebuchadnezzar, we threw 3 men in the fire. Nebuchadnezzar said, then why is there 4 in the fire? He said, there's another one in the fire, and they look like they're not even in pain. They look like they're not even hurting. And the 4th looks like the Son of God. He's in the details. He's in this story. Have faith. Take cheer. Jesus told us, he said, in this world you will have trouble, but be of good cheer, because I've already overcome the world. And he said that if we believe in him and we believe that he rose from the dead, we are in him and he is in the Father. You are in his hands and he is in the Father's hands, and no one can pluck you out of the Father's hands. He's in these details. He's in this story. He cares about you, so much so that he sent his only begotten. And he will see you through this. You will look back one day and realize it was the grace of God that got me through, and God really did have a plan, and God really did care. He really did care. And even when I thought he was the furthest away, it seems looking back that he might have been even closer than ever before.